Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? The Twisted Ones podcast. And today, you might not recognize him on the mats or anything, but you may have seen his work about the mats. And today's guest, Henrique Kraychete.
Yeah, Kraychete. Yeah.
Kraychete.
Yeah.
Man, I've been butchering his name all day. I'm determined to get it right, so we'll get it right. Welcome, or as Professor Alberto Crane affectionately calls him, Spielberg.
Brazilian Spielberg. That's
the
Brazilian Spielberg. That's how he calls me.
Righteous. So you are making a name, kind of bringing the artistic vision to jiu-jitsu, creating videos, and really documenting the culture through your work.
Yeah.
Behind the camera.
Yeah.
How did you get here?
So I've always loved telling stories. I've always loved movies. So for me, I'm all about the character, the journey of the character. I don't care very much about plot. I care about the people. The people is the most important thing for me. And I started training jiu-jitsu, and first because I was away from Brazil, so I wanted something to connect. Something to feel like I was homesick. And I was like, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I've never done it, so might as well try it. I've done judo when I was a kid. I've done capoeira, so I have some experience in martial arts, but I've never done Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
And this is back in Brazil.
Back in Brazil.
So you come from the motherland of the Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. So when I was here, when I got here, when I first moved here to go to film school, I was homesick. I was like, you know what? I need something to connect me to the motherland, So I joined the gym here to start training jiu-jitsu with Alberto, and it all started from there. I decided to can I use this gym to shoot my first short film? And Alberto said, yeah. So he gave me the keys for his gym,
keys to the kingdom.
That's his, that's how he makes his money. He just handed me the keys. That's how Alberto is, He just he's very open.
Speaking of which, we infiltrated. You might see all this cool gear, cool equipment. It's not mine. We have not upgraded. This is the podcast studio takeover, my friends. Yeah. So we're actually in Alberto Crane's podcast studio. So big shout out to Professor Crane, and who knows how he's going to react once he sees this. Hopefully he'll be all right. But okay, so you moved to LA to go to film school.
I moved here to go to film school. And I went to film school, and one of the projects that we're supposed to do was either a commercial or a music video. And I've always been a music video guy. I've always loved music. I went to music school in Brazil. I entered the music university in Brazil, which is really hard to get in. And I got in. I studied for 18 months. So I know how to read music sheet and all this kind of stuff. So I've always been big on music. And the project was either shoot a music video or a commercial. And I wanted to shoot a music video. And I was looking for artists, and I couldn't find those artists that I got in contact with. All of them will fall through,
Yeah, it's a tough struggle whenever you deal with artistic, the artistic community. It gets a little whimsical.
Exactly. So I was like, you know what? I was the deadline to sign up to do that, because it wasn't a mandatory project, Whoever wants to do it, and I really wanted to do it, might as well take the opportunity, because free equipment to shoot whatever you want, a commercial or a music video, that's a great deal, So I was like, I need to shoot something. I'm not going to let this opportunity go by. So I asked Alberto, hey, do you want to shoot a commercial for the gym? He was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. And from there, we shot a commercial, and it turned out really nice. So I'm really proud of it.
Man, that was let me see. We're 2019 right now. That was about 2017.
Yeah, 2017 exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, good memory.
Yeah, because I remember because that thing was so well done. And in this age, essentially everyone who has a camera is a creator, right?
Yeah.
And for better or worse, I think generally speaking, as a culture, as a society, it's really a great thing, because everyone, whether you agree with opinions or not, some of it could be harmful or damaging, but overall you get to see the consciousness of a society, and the fact that there's a lot of content that does get created, but the production value is very common. That's highly suspect. People tend to not understand the idea of storytelling. It's a classic story of one of those things. And we talked about this earlier in the context of jiu-jitsu. It's you could watch someone doing the movement. But then when you try to do it, you understand that, oh, that's a whole new language. You don't understand that language because you've never learned. And, we were looking at some of your work, and I just made a notice, where I asked you if you train, and you said your training was very limited.
Yeah.
But you consume it. You love watching it.
Yeah.
And you understand the visuals and the context. And that's the eye right there. That's what a lot of people don't capture is some of the beauty or the key elements of the movement of jiu-jitsu. And that's why 2017, I remember that because, wow, someone put together a video. And essentially, you said it's a commercial.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was, yeah, it's a commercial, but I'm like, no, is this like a movie coming out? What, what is this? This was really cool. And then, so essentially, this is kind of what got you into, I didn't even know that was your first video.
Yeah, that was my first commercial for jiu-jitsu. That was the first jiu-jitsu thing I've ever done.
Right.
So that was it. Like I shot a short film before that. That's like what got Alberto's attention. He watched, oh, that was really cool. But it was like about a guy that owns a martial arts gym, It wasn't about jiu-jitsu itself. So that was the first jiu-jitsu thing that I've ever made. And it turned out like really nice. I really liked it. And Alberto got really excited about it. So let's do more. So we started shooting more jiu-jitsu things, more fitness and I don't know, like in general, like movement, and we started doing like documentaries.
The storytelling. So, Savage. Yeah, for folks who don't understand, I told you earlier, I call him Blue. You're my boy Blue, from the movie Old School. Yeah. You featured a gentleman. Yeah. Tell us about.
So, I've met Savage before, I was rolling with him. Like I have like 3 stripes on my white belt, 3 stripes. So, I rolled with him a few times, I knew who he was because I was here every day pretty much, and he's always here,
right.
So I knew who he was, but I had no idea about his story. So we shot a documentary about this other lady before, and Alberto really liked it, how it turned out. And he was like, you know what, let's shoot a documentary on Savage because his story is amazing. I was like, yeah, how so? He was like, oh, he has like skin cancer, he has all these things, and he's 72. So I was like, okay, cool, let's make a documentary on him, And we shot it, and like I fell in love. That's the switch. That's the flip. It switched the whole thing. Now I love documentaries, and I used to hate documentaries. I thought documentary was boring.
Yeah, you were saying earlier.
I used to hate documentaries. I used to hate on documentaries, and I had this friend in Brazil. Then like he would always say, one day you're gonna bite your tongue and you're gonna start like appreciating documentaries. I was like, nah, man, I'm all about Hollywood. I'm all about Michael Bay explosions.
Right.
Like
I'm a James Cameron guy. Effects,
exactly. Right. So I was like, nah, I don't want to do documentaries. I'll never do documentaries. And I only did it because Alberto needed a documentary done, and I'll do anything for him. So I was like, okay, I'll shoot a documentary for you. Shouldn't be that hard. And I started enjoying it, and now
that's your jam.
Now it's my jam, and I love like telling like jiu-jitsu stories. There's something about jiu-jitsu, maybe because I'm away from Brazil, and jiu-jitsu is one of the things that people know about Brazil because Brazilian jiu-jitsu is everywhere, nowadays, especially with the UFC blowing up, and that's how it started with Brazilian jiu-jitsu and everything. So people know what Brazilian jiu-jitsu is. A lot of people know. So that's a way for me to like be proud of my own land, So like, oh shit, people know like Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So
it's kind of like
Brazil.
A callback to where you came from.
Exactly. It takes me back to Brazil. It makes me like proud of Brazil, make me more patriot, So
now just changing gears just a little bit. We'll put a pause on the filmmaking, but you as a person, you grew up, just to get this straight, you were born and raised in Brazil.
Born and raised in Brazil.
Because your English accent is on point.
I grew up watching movies, That's
really.
I grew up watching movies.
Well, you learn English in schools over there, right?
We do learn English in school, yeah.
And pretty much that's across the board everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm from middle class, so we all go to private school, and all private school have like
you
English,
had access, right?
Have access to it. And but I don't know. There's something about movies that always like fascinated me, and I never wanted to be a filmmaker in my life. Never wanted. I never thought you could be a filmmaker. What? No, you gotta be born with this talent. That's what I thought. I didn't know it was a craft that you gotta like practice just like everything else. So I would watch a lot of movies, in English without subtitles. So I had no idea what was going on. had no idea, but I would watch it over and over when I was like 5 years old, 6 years
Oh,
old.
so you were absorbing, or you were consuming
By
American
osmosis.
culture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot. I know not a lot, but compared to other Brazilians, I know a lot about American culture because I've watched so many movies about so many American movies,
Right.
So I grew up on that. So
growing up, I mean, in the community, let's talk about your growing up experience. We were talking earlier, hip hop. You kind of hip hop head, right?
Yeah.
And you even said you like country, right?
Yeah,
That's a weird blend, right?
It is.
But yeah, I'm very
But it's
similar.
not that weird because like what's Lil Nas or whatever, he just like
Lil Nas X.
That music with Old Town Road,
Yeah.
it's a mix of
Right.
it's country. It's Billy Ray Cyrus,
really is.
so it's country and hip hop. So it's not.
Well, but I think the big thing there is, and for the most part, every music, every genre of music has this element of storytelling. With someone put a little bit more emphasis on,
For sure.
Than others may. But with country, it's notorious for its storytelling. Now, people may gripe and complain about, it's about my wife left me, my car broke down.
Yeah.
But it's storytelling.
Yeah.
That's the point. And then when you talk about the hip hop culture, hip hop community, and the music that comes from hip hop, what is it? It's storytelling.
It's storytelling.
First and foremost, without a melody kind of thing. It's like melody is secondary to the story,
Yeah.
And then, especially now, I mean, I think it's run its course, but we're on the tail end of, let's say, mumble rapping, It's like, I can't really identify it with it too much. It's not my jam, but the point is we're not talking about melodies. My point is that there's not an emphasis on the melody of it, of the delivery, but I'm sure somewhere in there, they're telling stories, telling stories. So, okay. So getting back on board to your life growing up. So you were heavily involved in Americana, so to speak. And you were into martial arts at that time.
Yeah.
So what is it that you thought you would be doing if it wasn't filmmaking?
Business school. I went to business school. So before I went to to music school, so I wanted to be so I played classical guitar, So I wanted to be like a classical musician, Right. But I was like, you know what? That's not for me. I like classical music, but not enough to, make it like a job, a career. So I dropped out and I went to business school. I was doing business school. So I did like 2 years. I was in my third year of business school. And somehow I learned that you can be a filmmaker, And I was like,
So you don't necessarily remember what that trigger was?
No,
because I'm putting something together here.
I remember 100%. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he was talking about his new girlfriend. Oh, I started dating this girl. I was like, oh, that's cool. He was like, oh, by the way, she studies filmmaking. And I was like, how's that? You don't study filmmaking. That's a thing that you do.
Just happened.
It just happened.
It just happened.
In my mind, it just happened.
Dumb kids. We don't really understand the mechanics of what makes things work.
Stupid.
Right.
So I started talking to her, and now she was like, "Oh, we should do this and that," and she was more into like European film, which is. I like it. I know how to appreciate it, but I'm more like of American and like Japan. I like my favorite director is Akira Kurosawa. So his first movie was about judo, and I grew up with judo. My uncle and my cousin, they're like my uncle's a red belt judo sensei, Shihan. I think they call it Shihan. Okay. My cousin, he's a black belt judo. He's like he's a coacher, so he coaches like for the state, of Bahia. So I was like, oh my God, Akira Kurosawa is doing judo. I was like,
so they're at a pretty high level. Your family members are involved at a pretty high level on the judo front.
Yeah. My cousin, he was like, he tried out for the Pan Ams. He didn't get in, but he tried out for the Olympics. The Pan Americans or Olympics, or whatever.
Right.
So he didn't get in, but yeah, they're like his whole life is about jiu-jitsu. Oh, judo. His life is judo. That's how he makes a living. Now so. I had that,
Yeah. Okay. And the reason why I'm touching about this, about the things you were consuming, creatively, is what you've been able to do with some of these jiu-jitsu videos. Like I said, it's cool. You're capturing the shots, but it's that instinct that what looks good on camera, and kind of getting into, I wanted to tap into your influences. Like, what are some of the things that influenced you stylistically? Like, for instance, every filmmaker will say, or even commercials or whatever, but music is such a key element, whether it's the background music, it sets the table for the vibe, right? And then, you know, all the mechanics, of course, there's light and everything, but the music. And then that will affect the edits, the cuts, the looks. What is your creative process? How are you able to capture what you capture?
I care. For me, the most important thing, what comes first, second, and third, is the character. You know, is the journey of the character. You know, so for instance, like my favorite movie of all time is The Godfather. You know, he started the movie saying, "This is my family. This is not me, Kate." So first, he hates his family business because they're gangsters. At the end, he becomes the worst of them all. You know, so
A spoiler alert.
Spoiler, 1972.
45 years old.
So I was like, for me, the most important thing is the character, you know, is the journey of the character. So that's what like I like the most. And like for me, like for instance, like when I do like a jiu-jitsu documentary, is like how jiu-jitsu impacted your life, you know, what kind of impact jiu-jitsu had in your life, and what kind of like a daily thing, you know, what kind of lifestyle, like how jiu-jitsu changed your lifestyle, you know. So I like that, you know, and I like people that whatever matters to someone matters to me. You know, if that matters to you, I want to tell that story. And I'm passionate about other people's passion, you know. So when I see a person that trains every day, like Savage, you know, for instance, Alberto mentioned, and I was like, okay, let's do it. But then I started thinking, oh my God, he trains every day. He's 72 years old. He trains my grandfather, when he was 70, he was laying at home doing nothing.
It's almost like back in the day, they were getting ready to die at 70.
Yeah.
At least that's what it felt as a kid. It's like, man, what do you do? That's old, man. But in this day and age, for whatever reason, society has 70 is not as old as it used to be, you know,
True.
because of people like Savage.
Yeah.
And, you know, and you telling that story, you're telling people, look at 70 is not what it used to be.
It's not number. It's just, it's more of an excuse than a real reason, you know, the number. It's easy for me to say. I'm 29, you know. It's really easy for me to say.
But it's the concept of
it's
that.
The concept.
It's the concept. It's the idea.
It's the message that he's telling, you know, because like, for instance, one thing that impacted me, like when I was doing an interview with him, when I was like interviewing him, he was like, he said it, and I put it, like I left it on the documentary. He said, jiu-jitsu replaced work and accomplishment in my life. So this is a guy that, he started when he was 78, so he has done a lot. He had kids, you know, he has grandson, he has all that. He has all his past, you know, but maybe he was lacking something. And jiu-jitsu
filled that void,
you know? Yeah. So for me, you know, it's cool because that's how important something is to that person. And jiu-jitsu just came naturally because of how everything happened, you know, like I was riding my bicycle across the street and I saw the gym. You know, I was like, okay, let's try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Okay, and I entered the gym. I started training there, and then my first film, I shot it at this gym, you know, and then I shot a commercial at this gym, and then I shot my thesis at this gym, and then I shot Savage's video at this gym, you know. So I was like, there's something about Jiu-Jitsu that it's like,
you're drawn to it, right?
I'm drawn to it, and it's pulling me, you know. Maybe it's Alberto, maybe that's the way he is. I don't know, something's pulling me, and I found in Jiu-Jitsu, you know, that passion for other people's passion. You know, I was texting Professor, for instance. I was like, Professor, your passion for jiu-jitsu became my passion for jiu-jitsu. But unlike you like to roll. I like to tell people. I like to tell the story of the people that roll.
Right.
That's what I like. I like rolling. You know, I'm getting back on the mats. I like it. But for me, the most important is like the people that roll.
Yeah, we'll get your blood flowing, the adrenaline pumping.
It's Wednesday noon. Why are you here?
Right.
No, why are you here? What makes you like sacrifice your lunchtime, you know, and train? Why you do that? And there are people here that are like businessmen, doctors, lawyers, and they're here like every day at noon. You know, it's like something, you know, there's something about it.
And you know what? To that point is that's not exclusive to this place.
No.
You go to academies all over the world. Like whenever I travel, I can be like, for instance, one time I went to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anyone in Spain. I've never been to Spain. I'm excited about being in Spain, but my jam is look up the local jiu-jitsu academies of the area I'm in, and that's my form of communion. And like clockwork, it's put me in contact with some of the most amazing people, and it's through jiu-jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
It does bring together cultures, ideologies, and religions, careers. Just it's such a nucleus for all these different people to kind of converge and commune together and learn about each other, learn about those stories that you talk about. And it's really a powerful notion when you think of it, what a jiu-jitsu mat room does in that sense.
I was thinking the other day, because I heard this, I don't know who said it, I don't remember who said it, and the person said, you never retire from jiu-jitsu. You can be super you stop competing, but you still roll. There's something about it that, for instance, like soccer players in Brazil or here in America, football players, once they're retired, you're done. You don't do that anymore, because there are too many injuries. There's this and that, but there's something therapeutic about jiu-jitsu. It's therapy for some people. It's just like a time to try to kill each other, but then hug after. It's
right.
It's so crazy that you're trying to kill each other, but then you hug each other.
You're practicing and even playing the art of death on a jiu-jitsu mat.
And
every time someone taps out, that's the acknowledgement of, if this was real combat, you could have killed me. Right? That.
Yeah.
But that was cool. Let's go again.
Yeah.
And then the rabbit hole continues.
Yeah. And so for me, how jiu-jitsu affects other people, people's life, that's what draws me. That's what drives me to, I want to tell this story. Not because the person's jiu-jitsu game is amazing, not because of that, but how jiu-jitsu change your life.
Yeah, it's almost like reverse engineering. It's like, you are amazing. You're great. Oh my God, your guard is phenomenal. How did you get there? Let's go backwards now and let's hear your story.
Yeah.
And being around jiu-jitsu and the art, and then even jiu-jitsu folks, everyone has a story. But again, that glue, that jiu-jitsu that we just talked about, that glue, it's like, okay, I don't have to travel too far to hear these stories. Being on a mat room, it's going to happen. People are going to, talk about what they do and this and that. You've already kind of exposed yourself in a way to where you're exhausted physically and even mentally at some point training. So, and once that your defenses are down, so it allows an opportunity for people to be really, really honest and true with their emotions if they're doing this jiu-jitsu thing right. And not that I'm the be all end all of what is right and what is wrong, but generally speaking, my take, it sets the table, allowing an opportunity for you to be honest with your emotions, with your ailments or what's going on good, because you're exhausted. You have nothing left at the end of a training session or a mat session.
And that's something that Professor Alberto always says, you can fake jiu-jitsu.
Can't fake jiu-jitsu.
You can't fake jiu-jitsu, man. And Joe Rogan said it on a podcast, if a guy strikes one person, and he might be lucky. He might get lucky with one shot, but there's no such thing in jiu-jitsu. There's no lucky.
Submissions.
There's no lucky submission.
That's so true.
Maybe someone made a mistake and you caught that, maybe you're you planned it, or maybe it happened because you saw the opportunity, but there's no lucky. You
don't accidentally do a triangle omoplata sweep.
I'm not going to accidentally submit Buchecha. I'm not. So, but I can maybe strike a lucky punch and punch someone in the jaw and knock them out.
Eyes closed, just swinging. Yeah.
I might. Good,
yeah.
What are the chances? Is very short, very little.
We ain't knocking out Mike Tyson anytime soon.
No,
but it's there. It's there. It exists in a way that it doesn't exist in jiu-jitsu.
Here's the thing: if Mike Tyson was "I'll let you punch me in the face," maybe I'll punch him, and maybe I'm lucky and I'm knocked him down. Probably not, but maybe I'm lucky. But there's no such thing. If Buchecha gave him his arm bar me, he's gonna escape. I'm not going to armbar him,
Funny story on that. So my professor, this gentleman, Henrique Kraychete, right? So one time we're rolling, right? And then he's like, yeah, I'm going to let you tap me this time. I'm like, No,
you're not.
man. Come on. No, you're not. And yeah, I'm a black belt at this time. His black belt, right?
Oh, you're a black belt back
yeah,
then.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He's like, nah, no, you can have this one. I'm like, nah, fool, we're going. He's all, nah, I don't feel like it. And I was like, all right, listen, don't give me the tap. Give me the position, but don't give me the tap. And when I roll with my students, and that's what I preach. You know, it's like I'll give opportunities, but I don't give taps. If you tap me, you earn that.
Yeah.
You earn that because I want to send a message to I don't want them developing bad habits on, well, my arm bar when I do it this way usually works. No. I'll give you the opportunity. In other words, I'll give a certain position and I'll slide the scale. Yeah, you got to work for the tap.
You got to work for it, yeah.
So I said, come on, man. I was like, Rodrigo, give me the position. He's all, Jumbo. And I do a spot on Rodrigo. Jumbo. It's like, even if I gave you the position, you're not going to get the tap. I'll give you the tap. You son of a bitch. But anyways, the point is, how do we even get here? But yeah, there's no faking jiu-jitsu.
There's no faking. There's no faking. You can fake as a filmmaker. I can fake as a filmmaker.
Oh,
I can make one video, you know, that's really good. You know, have a crew, great cast, great story, and make one good video, and maybe the next one won't be as good because.
Really? That's a great point.
And here's the thing. Like,
name some fakers out there. No, I'm just.
I don't know any fakers. I don't know
playing.
any fakers, you know, because for me, like, if I'm watching you, for me, you already made it, you know? If I'm able to watch you, if I'm able to, like, go on Netflix and see your for me, you made it.
You already made it, right?
You already made it. I'm not going to be a hater. You
yeah,
know, I'm not going to be a hater
true.
to say, oh, that guy. Dude, he's doing something.
Right.
He's doing something. He's doing something that right now, me, Henrique, I can't do yet because I don't have enough experience to do that.
So with all that being said, what is so you have how many jiu-jitsu videos do you have out right now? I mean that you've released.
Four
okay,
or five.
So 4. Okay, 4 or 5. And what is your vision? Where would you like to go with this? And how do you see this whole genre of let's say jiu-jitsu film outside of just yourself? What's your vision for filmmaking in jiu-jitsu?
For instance, José Padilha, he's a Brazilian director. He directed Elite Squad. He was one of the directors of Narcos, the original Narcos. You know, Season 1, yeah. With Wagner Moura, the Brazilian actor that plays Pablo Escobar. So
that's right. He was Brazilian.
He's Brazilian. Yeah, he's Brazilian.
Yeah.
And he's from my city actually.
Oh no, kidding.
He's from Salvador. Yeah, he's from Salvador. And so Padilha, he's directing a movie about Rickson. So there's a Netflix movie being made about jiu-jitsu, you know? So, and that for me was just like, I already knew how big jiu-jitsu was because first of all, I'm in LA and they're like, I see a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms, a lot, you know? That was the first thing. The second is like how big UFC got. It was the biggest sports transaction in history, $4 billion.
Yeah.
So, okay, that says
interest
something.
is there.
You know, that means that there is like a market for it, for martial arts. Has always been, you know, but right now I think it's jiu-jitsu time because of the whole UFC thing, you know. So jiu-jitsu is growing even more, you know. By the year it's getting bigger.
And I'm sure you've seen it, that it seems like in every action movie, whether it's a superhero movie or just some badass, you know, John Wick type stuff, jiu-jitsu is always.
I was gonna say that.
Almost mandatory.
I was gonna say that John Wick, dude. That might like if you put like on YouTube like Keanu Reeves training for John Wick, you're gonna see Higan, the Machado brothers, you know, like training him and like he's legit.
Straight up jiu-jitsu.
But
even you know something is you know like you have the Black Panther movie. Where when they're fighting for the king, who gets to be king?
Yeah.
It's like that was a sweet ass triangle. Yeah,
that's grappling.
It's almost like they made it mandatory for fight scenes and action scenes in Hollywood now that you got to put in a little jiu-jitsu because it's like you said, it's jiu-jitsu's time.
Yeah, that too. But also, I think people are like we're tired a little bit of like karate and kung fu. You know, they want something more in boxing. Boxing, karate, and kung fu has always been there. So because we had Rocky. You know, we've had like a Bruce Lee and we have, you know, and for karate, we had Karate Kid.
Right.
You know, so you have all that. So for Hollywood, karate, boxing, and kung fu has always been big. you know. But also, you watch like a movie, a karate movie, you know, like you for me at least, you know, unless the story is really exciting, I'm not really a fan of the action.
You get disconnected a little bit.
The sequences, you know, the action sequences, I'm not really a fan of it.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. Come on, we know better. We have UFC now. We see what works in UFC, what a fight really looks like.
Exactly. You know, and like someone, like, I don't know who it was, it said, dude, every fight goes to the ground. Every fight goes to the ground. Eventually, people are going to go to the ground. Unless it's a boxing match because you have to stand up. Sure. But if it's like a street fight, eventually people are going to go to the ground.
At some point, right.
At some point, someone's going to fall, someone's going to trip, or someone's going to try to like do a takedown, even if they don't know how to do a takedown. You know, I'm going to grab this guy's legs, I'm going to throw him on the ground. You know, so that's more real. Jiu-Jitsu for me is more realistic, and whatever is more real for me, that's what I like the most.
So cinematically speaking, like for, you know, using these action movies, would it be fair to say that you could still have those elements, kung fu, boxing, so on and so forth, and jiu-jitsu? You don't necessarily have to go out of your way, but the one thing that we're left with is you have to capture something. You have to be more intelligent.
It's hard. It's hard. It's not more intelligent. I would say it's hard to shoot jiu-jitsu. It's hard because there's a lot going on here, you know, pulling someone here. It's everything close.
The little details.
Because like kung fu or boxing, I'm here, you're here. You know,
everyone knows what's going on.
I put a camera here. We know that there's a punch being thrown. You know, but jiu-jitsu, the focus is here, but actually the leg is doing something else. Right. And, you know, you fake it here, but you're working here. So there's a lot going on. So I think that's the hardest part about jiu-jitsu. And I think that's why I'm excited about this Pajita movie, you know, because I've never seen a movie with good, like, way to show jiu-jitsu, because it's hard. It's hard to film jiu-jitsu. Right. Because we're in the ground. You're like one squeezing the other. You know, you're so close. You're so tight. So you don't know what am I showing here? What am I showing here? Yeah,
you kind of have to have some sort of what is going to be the important thing to capture.
Exactly. You got to pick because there's so much going on. One person, the other, arms, legs, hips. There's so much going on. You have to pick. You know, you have to pick. And for me, I think that's the challenge, you know, what to pick. So luckily for documentaries, you know, I have them roll for a while and I'm just recording, you know, and just, okay, this position, I lost that movement. Okay, I'm going to stay here for a while, because I know he's going to roll again. And when he rolls again, I'm going to try to get like that footage. You know, I'm going to try to get that side or that detail. Oh, I'm going to film him a little bit from the back. Now I'm going to film him a little bit from the side. Now from the front. You know, so that's the good thing about documentary, because it gives me the opportunity to shoot as much as I can, you know, and then we see what works and what not works, you know?
So how can people find your work and keep in contact with you?
My Instagram's Henrique Kraychete, which is...
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. HenriqueKraychete.
Wait, one more time, a little slower.
HenriqueKraychete.
And that's Instagram?
That's Instagram. That's Facebook.
Okay.
And soon I'm going to start... I want to start like a YouTube just for jiu-jitsu documentaries.
Wow.
That's what I want to do.
That's going to be awesome.
And that's the idea is not to do only pro athletes, but people that have like the regular Joe that has a great jiu-jitsu story, or they love jiu-jitsu, but they're like a blue belt or a white belt, but something happened, you know, something more inspiring, motivational, you know, about jiu-jitsu. Because I think there's like so much more than just competition, you know, because I know a few people that they're like beasts on the mat, but they don't like to compete.
Right.
They don't like to compete. This is a lifestyle for them.
Like their voice has been drowned out by a lot of the competitive scene, I guess, so to speak.
I don't know. Or maybe they don't want the competition. Maybe they just wanted to roll, you know? I don't know. But I think there are people like that, you know? And I think they're like, everybody has an interest.
What I meant is the platform for that voice, those types, right? Right there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like,
there's more about jiu-jitsu than just tournaments, than the pro athletes, you know?
And that's what you're embedded in. You're all about that life, but no, don't really compete.
But
you know? don't dare say you're not part of the community and culture,
exactly. Right? And you live the jiu-jitsu lifestyle even though you don't compete.
Right.
Don't dare to tell me that I don't live the jiu-jitsu lifestyle. You know, not me, Enrique. I'm talking about the person that, you know.
Or that part. Well, even you, Enrique.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the hours you put in. And,
Yeah.
Right. But, but just you and people like you, you know, and it's like, yeah, it's, there's humanity's complex.
Yeah.
And I think with your vision and what you're doing, people will begin to understand that. And really, and that's my hope for the jiu-jitsu community too. It's like a majority of my friends actually aren't from the jiu-jitsu community, but how much better would my community be if that faction of my life, the people who are important to me, also did jiu-jitsu? And I think everyone can relate to that story who does jiu-jitsu. Now, there are people, don't get me wrong, that are just, their friends are only jiu-jitsu. But I think those folks can enhance their jiu-jitsu by stepping out of jiu-jitsu. It's not really logical, but it just works. It just works.
And not only that, like, they're like, okay, all their friends are jiu-jitsu, you know, they're all jiu-jitsu, 100% jiu-jitsu, but maybe they want to see what's more than just pro athletes, you know? Because I think if you're passionate about something, you want to know as much as you can about that something. So I think, like, for instance, like Savage's story, you know, I think anybody that trains jiu-jitsu should watch that. Doesn't matter if you want to be a professional competitor or if you do this just for hobby. I think you should watch that because he says how important jiu-jitsu is for him, you know, and he's 72 and he trains every day. You know, we all should learn something from that guy. You know, there's something to learn about everybody. So the idea is to be everything about jiu-jitsu. So jiu-jitsu commercials, you know, jiu-jitsu documentaries on pro athletes, jiu-jitsu profiles on the regular Joe that that loves jiu-jitsu, you know, the brown belt that loves jiu-jitsu, but he doesn't do it, you know, he doesn't compete, you know, it's just a passion for him. It's just a hobby. You know, that's the guys that I want. That's the stories that I want to tell because there's so much stories to be told.
Well, Enrique, it's going to be exciting. And you dropped a name earlier. I won't say it, but you dropped a name earlier that's like, oh, snap. A Brazilian guy from San Diego? That's going to be exciting.
I don't know, Professor Crane. We're in the works. We're in the works to see. We're in the works.
So right on. Once again, Instagram.
Enrique Kraychete.
Enrique Kraychete.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get it.
You put the tag on the video, you know, just to make sure that people know how to read it because it's hard. It's because the H is silent. It's all weird about Portuguese.
And then and then no, thanks for you're so kind. It's truth is I'm a tad bit illiterate. And YouTube. Do you have a YouTube channel that people can kind of see your work? How can they find those videos?
Pretty much most of my videos are on Alberto's.
Okay.
So Alberto Crane.
Alberto Crane.
Yeah, it's all.
Just do a YouTube search for that.
Yeah, YouTube
the
search
artistic, artsy fartsy ones are yours.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Enrique, thanks, brother. It was great talking to you, man. Look forward to more things, and we'll recap. We'll meet up again. Talk again soon.
For sure.
All right, my brother. Take care.
Thank you.
All right.